Alrighty, good morning everybody. It's been a while. I know that having these online is really nice, but there's also a bunch of other resources. I know that there's a bunch of really good face groups that you all can be in, especially if you're new to epilepsy. And then the in-person ones are always really difficult because of driving and things like that, and we understand, and that's why I try to do one of these at least every quarter if I possibly can. Something that's come to my attention and that we're going to talk about today is about stress and epilepsy and kind of, what causes that, why it makes it worse, and how to mitigate that. So, everybody watching today probably can understand that stress does make your seizures worse. Once again, seizures are just abnormal activity in the brain. So if you are already under a lot of stress, your brain is not acting normally, and that's going to cause that abnormal activity to increase, i.e. your seizures increase. Also, what I notice is that when people are under stress, they're not taking care of themselves very well. They're not sleeping. They're not, or if you're, sleeping, you're not sleeping well because your brain's constantly going. Also, you miss meds when you're stressed. You're not, eating correctly. You're not exercising like you used to. Maybe you're not taking your meds like you're supposed to. All of that goes into then a stress response that your brain has, and i.e. your seizures increase. So you're not wrong in thinking that during stressful times in your life your seizures do get worse. So what we say is that you need to figure out why your seizures are increasing, what you're stressing about. Sometimes it's not just open and close that you know why. There's a lot of things that go behind the stress that you're having. And then also figuring out coping mechanisms and healthy coping mechanisms. A lot of times people think that, having another glass of wine or doing things that are less than healthy for themselves will help alleviate that stress for a little while, but we want you to find positive ways to alleviate stress, and find a way that coping for you works, but in a positive way, so that your seizures don't get worse, so that you don't need to take a rescue med, need to up your meds, etc., etc. And there's a ton of scholarly articles out there about this, so you can definitely look it up. Obviously, epilepsy.com has a really good section about stress, but they say pretty much the same things that I'll tell you and that most doctors will say, is that you need to figure out the reasons so that you can figure out how to help yourself go through those. What I find is a regular sleeping pattern helps a ton. Even if you're not sleeping very well, at least having a set bedtime, which is hard when you're, older and you have work and school and kids and all these other things. But a regular sleeping time, even if it's just getting in bed that time, kind of tuning out other things. So this has probably been gone over 1,000 times, but limiting your screen time, especially when you do get in bed, so that you can turn your brain off, and making bed a priority. So not taking the phone to bed with you, not turning on the TV while you sleep, and things like that will really help in the long term. to make it so that you have a normal sleep pattern, so that you get quality sleep. Because once again, like during sleep is when our brains recuperate from the day and recuperate from possibly all the activity that is going on behind the scenes that we don't know and we can't feel and we can't perceive. And so if you're not hitting those different patterns of sleep, then in turn you're probably not getting that quality sleep that you need for your brain to work properly. So yeah, have a normal bedtime so that you can hit those normal sleep patterns so that your brain can recuperate from the day and the week and things like that. Also, limit your alcohol intake. Alcohol does a weird thing to our brain because it is, first of all, a lot of sugar, and your brain runs on sugar, it runs on glucose. That's like what makes neuronal connections work, is that glucose. But if you have too much, which alcohol does, it can make it spike all of a sudden. Your neuronal connections kind of get all funky, or they go really, really fast, and then you're going to have this slump. That slump is often when people have a lot of seizures, if you're prone to having seizures, because that slump in glucose really slows everything down and can create that opportunity for abnormal brain activity to occur. So when somebody who doesn't have seizures drinks a lot, they get, headaches and things like that, and that's that slump. Well, for somebody with epilepsy, that slump can also have, it can be a precursor for higher seizure frequency. So just be very careful about that. Don't drink too often. Don't drink a whole ton at a time. Binge drinking really is the worst thing for people, and now the medical community is kind of getting behind that idea. We didn't realize it for a really long time, and now all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, binge drinking is pretty bad for your brain and your body, and it's all about how it messes up because of those spikes and valleys. So and then positive coping mechanisms. I think that really is, at the end of the day, the thing that we have to really force and really put importance on, because those coping mechanisms, they're not going to be the same for everybody. Like, I can't just send you out to a yoga class and it's going to be that thing that just calms you down, because like, I don't know you. I don't know what is going to work for you. I know that yoga puts me to sleep. It doesn't, alleviate stress, other than it just puts me to sleep. So, like, I prefer kayaking. I prefer being out in nature. But I can't get there all the time. So sometimes I just have to turn off the lights, turn off my phone, and just, sit with my eyes closed and breathe and kind of focus on, like, grounding myself. And that will at least work for the time being when I feel really stressed and I can't really take myself out of that place. So that's what helps me, but it's not going to help everybody. And the nice thing is that here in Dallas, we do have a lot of people who do cognitive behavioral therapy, and like neurofeedback. And those work so well, especially when you already have, a brain that, like somebody with epilepsy, kind of goes on the fritz. So cognitive behavioral therapy and neurofeedback work really, really well. Obviously, if you wanted some information on that, just let me know, either in the comments or email me, and I can get you doctors who do that. And also, your epileptologist or your neurologist should know somebody who does a good job. But really, what that is that it's a meditative practice in a way, where you focus on what you're feeling, you focus on your body, you focus on your breath, but then also you focus on what is going on in your brain, and you relearn a practice to relax yourself. You relearn a practice to slow the information that's going in to your brain down so that you can compartmentalize it and put it in boxes and know where things are going, and so that it doesn't become a stress response. It becomes something that you can deal with at a pace that is comfortable for you. And I've seen that work in many patient stories. I think that when you have epilepsy and you have this thing that's going on in your brain that you can't control, oftentimes it's scary, you feel insecure about it, you don't know how to deal with it, and so you, instead of being, lazy, I guess, in what your brain does, you become hypervigilant, and that just makes it so that you can perceive little things that other people can't, and you don't know if those little things that you feel and perceive are real or not, because you're still feeling them. You just don't know what to do with them. And you don't know if this could be a seizure, if this could be an aura, what if this is just normal. And so what neurofeedback does is it hooks you up to an EEG, and you go through all those feelings, you go through all those settings, and you see how things make you feel and how you can perceive those differently so that you can cope with them in a healthy way, and not in a way that would produce an anxious body, reaction. So cognitive behavioral therapy really works, but once again, you can do your own neurofeedback just by finding something that you really like, whether it's painting, you can see the things behind me. Some of these are from the art show that we just did for Parkinson's and neurodegenerative disease, but this is the way that people relax, is, one of those is a crayon. This one right here is melting crayons. It's very relaxing, actually. And then to see the crayons melt in certain patterns is pretty awesome. The one down here is decoupage, and that's decoupage also. And then the other is a painting with a splatter on top of it with a gloss on top of that. And people do melts and stuff like that. So painting, any kind of craft, anything that takes you out of your head for a little bit so you can focus on something else, I am pro 1000%. Obviously exercise helps a ton, but I also know that if your seizures frequency is something that you can't trust, exercising, especially in a large group, or possibly if running was your thing, sometimes you can't trust that. And so find what you can, whether that be Pilates in your house, or walking around the neighborhood, but a neighborhood that people know you, and if anything was to happen, they would know to get help and make sure that you were safe. Always have a buddy, especially if you're going to go out and exercise in a public place, or if you do like to exercise in a public place, maybe you go out to the Y or something like that. Just make sure that when you do go out, that somebody who works there knows what to do in case you have a seizure. Your plan, your 911 plan, because not everybody's is the same. We'll tell you that if you have a GTC, don't call 911 until you're blue or it's been over 5 minutes. Maybe your plan's different. Maybe you and your doctor have discussed a different plan. So make sure that somebody knows who is at that gym that you're at, so that they know your plan, know when to get scared, know when to call 911, and also know when not to, because a lot of people, you guys obviously know, will call the ambulance, and who wants that bill if you're going to be okay once, you're back to yourself. So whether it be a card that you have when you sign up, or just kind of a reminder, a friendly reminder of that person who's around. Make sure somebody knows that plan so that you're safe while you're working out and getting that stress relief. So yeah, but really, I think that at this time of year, we do get really stressed. It's not as stressful as the holidays, but you know, this time of year, the heat index is really, really high, and so that can be very, very stressful on your body as a whole. Especially here in Texas, we've also had a lot of storms, so there's like these tornadoes that are becoming very prevalent, and you know, we have to be worried about like that outside stress that's kind of affecting us that we may not understand. So just be kind of worried about that. Stay out of the heat, stay cool, focus on sleep, focus on healthy eating, things like that. But really just live your life. These are things, and I think that this is kind of what sucks about having epilepsy, is that sometimes you feel like you're so outside of the norm. But really, these are things that we would, in the medical community, tell anybody. I literally, if somebody comes to me, if they're a caregiver, if they have some other neuro disease, if they're a friend that's dealing with just kind of like malaise, which is, you know, just kind of like tiredness and stuff, I would ask them the same thing. Do you have a normal bedtime? Are you sleeping well? Are you focusing on coping mechanisms? What's your stress level? You know, like anything like that, I would ask them the same thing, and I would tell them the same thing. So while you have to be maybe a little bit more vigilant about these, you know, and taking your meds on time, really it's just normal stuff that helps you stay healthy and helps you, you know, stay on that track to staying out of the hospital and staying out of the neurologist's office, and getting back to, you know, the independence that, you know, sometimes we lose during especially a new onset seizure diagnosis. So I hope that helped a little bit. Once again, the comments will be open, so you guys can comment back and forth to each other, or I'm always available in my email. So let me know, and have a great summer.